Right. Good morning, everybody. Bienvenidos. Welcome to Barcelona. So, first of all, let me point out that the press conference will be delivered in English, so please select your language according to the information displayed on the screen to follow the press conference. But most important, today we have the honor of having with us the CEO of Volkswagen AG, Dr. Herbert Diess, who has cleared a space in his agenda to be here. So thank you very much, Dr. Diess, for being here with us today. Thank you. I also want to say hello to our team who is following us via streaming, and also welcome Christian Vollmer, the new Vice President of Production and Logistics, the mayor of this factory, actually, who is attending the first annual press conference frame, and also Axel Andorf, our new Research and Development Vice President, who joined us a few weeks ago. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to SEAT City, welcome to our home here. This place where we are right now turned 25 years old last year in 2018. More than 10 million cars have been made here since 1993. Today, Martorell has become an efficient and smart factory, and it's so big that the Monaco Grand Prix could be held here, actually. And that's why we have decided to host the annual media conference in our headquarters, because 2018 was an historic year for SEAT. So to kick off this morning's presentation, SEAT CEO Luca De Meo will analyze 2018 from a corporate viewpoint, and then our Vice President for Finance, IT and Organization, Holger Kincher, will give a detailed account of the financial results. So you all come from 15 different countries, some of you for the first time, so I would like to clarify that the results that we are presenting today are according to the Spanish General Accounting Plan. These results don't include SEAT subsidiaries, unlike the figures recently presented by the Volkswagen Group, which are calculated by applying international accounting standards and consolidating the SEAT brand figures. But Holger will give you more details about this in a few minutes. So following that, Luca will present SEAT strategy for the future, and Dr. Diess will close the session and will join us for the Q&A session after all the speeches. That's it for the introduction. Now, Luca, the stage is yours.
Very good. Buenos días a todos. Welcome to Barcelona, and obviously welcome at SEAT. As Christian mentioned, it is a great pleasure to play at home, to be with you, as well as with the colleagues that from SEAT that are following us via live streaming. So, hola a todos los compañeros y compañeras. First of all, let me also thank Herbert Diess for his participation. It is actually the first time in the history that we have the CEO of the group at our annual media conference. We are really honored that you are here with us. So really thank you for coming and taking the time. And I'm also sure that it will be very interesting for everybody at the end to hear directly from your voice, from you, your point of view on the present and on the future of our company. So let me start this press conference with a simple, clear statement. 2018 was the best year in the history of SEAT. So 2018 was the best year in the history of SEAT. For the first time, we posted a turnover of almost 10 billion euros and an all-time profit after tax of close to 300 million euros. In 2018, 474,000 cars rolled out of the assembly lines of Martorell. This is one of the highest figures in the 25 years of history of this plant. We didn't break the record only because of availability of engine and not for a lack of demand. During the last year, we also welcomed successfully the new Audi A1, which is the third model built on the famous MQB A0 platform. On the sales side, with Wayne, We broke the 500,000 threshold for the first time since the year 2000. And with 518,000 units, we reached the highest volume in our almost 7 decades of history. I would like to take the opportunity to thank our suppliers, our dealers, their employees, and of course, the 15,000 people of SEAT who made it possible. All of them are obviously taking advantage of the success of SEAT. Suppliers have now a more solid and stable business. Dealers are making money like never before, and employees will receive a bonus for the 3rd year in a row, which is actually 50%, 50% higher than in 2017. Great companies, we think, push progress and share prosperity with all stakeholders. And we are back on track to belong to that praised category of companies. We are the biggest industrial company in Spain, the first exporter in value, the biggest R&D investor in the industrial sector, with 6.5% of our income dedicated to innovation, when the average in Spain here is 1.2%. And, very important, we are the biggest employer in Catalonia, keeping hiring even in very challenging times like the last 10 years. 2018 was actually our 6th consecutive year of growth in terms of sales, and the 3rd year in a row where we could show a record profit year after year. Now, our impression is that all the things every day look more balanced and solid here in Martorell. All important products in the market and all the areas of the organization, you will see with the comment of Holger, have made a strong contribution to this result. We clearly have the feeling that something special is happening here and around SEAT. More and more customers are coming, especially young people, especially from competitors. And this is good, because that's exactly the mission that was given us by the group, bringing the new generation into the family. Now, talking about products and their performance. The Leon was again our top-selling product with more than 158,000 units sold. I would say surprisingly stable. The Ibiza continued being a key pillar of our business with more than 136,000 units sold. Big part of the growth, though, in the recent years is explained by the fact that our SUV offensive is working, and I would say even beyond our more optimistic expectations. The Arona reached almost 100,000 units in its first full year in the market. And the Ateca, despite supply restrictions, was the 4th most popular model of our range with more than 78,000 vehicles delivered. End of 2018 saw also the market introduction of the Tarraco, a model that I would say made a lot of buzz in the media even before its launch with the initiative SEAT Busca Nombre, but more importantly, a product that will allow us to stretch the brand on price heights that we have never achieved before. A car that is there to generate, I would say, additional margins, which is important. Now, 1 out of 3 SEATs was, in 2018, an SUV. And we had none, just 3 years ago. In other words, for the first time, we have a fresh, good products in the relevant, growing, and most profitable volume segments in Europe, based on state-of-the-art Volkswagen Group technology. And we are demonstrating, I think, that when we have the right ingredients, we can make it work. SEAT, in fact, is, since 3 years, one of the fastest growing brands in Europe. We set a new record in Germany. Germany is our biggest market, 114,000 units sold. In Spain, we reconquered leadership after 7 years with close to 108,000 cars delivered. Being also leader in the private channel for the first time in more than 30 years. The UK was on its historical record with almost 63,000 vehicles delivered. But you know what? Beyond the sheer numbers, the brand, we think, is gaining the necessary relevance and visibility in the eyes of consumer. I actually was surprised a few weeks ago to read in a report published by the Ministry of Industry, ICEX and Interbrand companies, a famous company for branding, and a report on the awareness of Spanish brands. And SEAT was, let's say, reported as the most known Spanish brand in Germany, and it was the second best known Spanish brand for the Brits, even above Barça and Real Madrid, which is, I would say, pretty unbelievable, but that was written black and white on that prestigious and independent research. Talking about market development, it is also worth saying that we are taking advantage of this good momentum to do something probably we should have done many, many years ago. Globalizing our footprint and making SEAT less dependent from Western Europe. Our activities in North Africa, I think, are a very concrete example. We took the lead for the group to build an assembly plant in Algeria, and Relizan, where the plant is located, delivered in total 53,000 vehicles last year. 40% of them were SEAT. Algeria became our 7th market, and we are already number 4 brands in that nation. But most importantly, because of this investment, the Volkswagen Group dominates the most valuable part of the market in Algeria, with an 80% share on the segments beyond the 2 million dinar, so that around 15,000 euro. So the success of this project gave us the confidence to ask for the lead in the development of the Maghreb area for the entire group and all its brands. And of course, this motivates us to look at further developing Algeria and scout for opportunities in other markets. There is another part of the world where we are convinced represents a natural area of expansion for us. This is Latin America. We signed in 2018 a contract with Porsche Holding to enter Colombia and Chile already this year. And we are working with the strategists of the group on a plan to make this region a solid contributor to our business in the future. And as we're talking about globalization, we cannot forget China. Globalization, I would say, it's a half-empty world nowadays if a company doesn't engage in the biggest market on this planet. But this is not only about size. Using the words of Herbert Diess in the VW annual press conference, I would say that China is now setting productivity and quality standards for the entire group. It is setting the pace with regard to innovation as well, for e-mobility, digitalization, and new mobility concepts. Volkswagen's future will be determined in China. It is our most important market, and it will remain so. And I think also for SEAT, it is as simple as that. And being the preferred partner brand in the third joint venture of the group is a challenge, a big challenge for us for sure, but also a huge opportunity. I believe, personally, one of the biggest opportunity we have ever had. Especially if you think that the mandate is to develop a pure electric range of cars, a progressive brand dedicated to the next generation of Chinese consumers. I am sure that we will learn a lot about the future of mobility in China, and this will contribute to the success of our company, not only in that market. Some months ago, on the 28th of November, at the presence of the President of the People's Republic of China, our Spanish Prime Minister, and our Group CEO, we signed an MOU stating our mutual commitment to develop a range of electric products, build an R&D center, and introduce the SEAT brand in China in 3-4 years' time. I am sure that this date will be remembered one day as a milestone in the development of our company. So we are enlarging our horizons geographically, but we are also stretching the scope of our activities in segments where before probably we were not so comfortable. The birth of Cupra as a separate unit on the 22nd of February 2018 is a good example. After a growth of more than 40% in 2018 year on year, it is now showing a triple-digit growth in the first 2 months of 2019. In other words, Cupra is working, and is working very, very well. And although Olga will not deliver separate numbers for Cupra, I can tell you that Cupra became overnight our most profitable unit, both in terms of percentage of return and absolute numbers. And then another example is our commitment on new mobility service. Is an example of our strive to scout for new opportunities in new potential businesses. As you know, there are a lot of debate and also a lot of uncertainties inside and around the automotive industry regarding how mobility will be transformed in the coming years due to the change of regulations, discontinuities in technologies, and also changing consumers' expectations. But I think there are 2 or 3 things that are certain. First, any mobility ecosystem will need OEMs, simply because mobility platform will only succeed if they operate vehicles designed and engineered to deliver a specific service. As much as you wouldn't use a Jumbo 747 to fly from here to Valencia, the same will happen with shared vehicles. 1 month ago, at the Mobile World Congress, we announced that SEAT was given the task to lead the development of the Volkswagen Group's micromobility strategy. In this framework, we released already an e-kick scooter, and we present the concept of a micro four-wheeler designed for urban mobility that we call Minimo. But the important thing is that 60% of the movements in the city centers are actually calculated being below 8 kilometers. This is potentially a big business if people will start to think also in terms of pay-per-use for mobility. And SEAT will be in this game for the group. The second thing that is pretty certain is that software will become very, very soon the majority of the value in a car. And that's why building competence on this field, whether it's on-board or off-board, that means off-board to integrate vehicle in the ecosystem, will define competitive advantage. Because of this, 2 years ago, we created the SEAT Digital Lab in our technical center, a unit where designers, UX engineers, and inboard software specialists work physically in the same big space and focus simultaneously on functions, integration in our infotainment system, and in general, on the future of man-machine interfaces in the vehicle. From what I hear, this unit is already considered a best practice in the group. And exactly for the same reason, we recently announced the creation of a new software development center, which will focus on off-board software. That means software developed for the ecosystem, produced and developed in-house and in coordination with the other units of the group operating around the globe. It will be located in Barcelona, and the cool thing is that we are going to pull together in the same place that team with the one working on micromobility products, the Metropolis Lab team that scouts for software innovations, and the people of Xmoba. Xmoba is the company that we founded last year to manage and distribute mobility solutions like car sharing company like Respiro. I think that this combination will be pretty unique in the industry and will be certainly an asset for the tech community in Barcelona. The third thing that is undeniable is that most of the challenges that we will face in the future, from decarbonization to digitalization, are challenges that cut sectors and industries horizontally. And they can be solved only if you are open to look beyond the perimeter of your plant or your office building. As much as you have recently heard the group is engaging in cooperation with competitors, with tech and software giants, or as accelerating startups around the world, we have also activated connections with different stakeholders, especially in Spain, especially here in Barcelona, to create an open and fluid ecosystem. We are actually involved in many initiatives with other organizations, but there is one project that for me tells it all. And this is the only one that I want to mention today for the sake of time. And this is called Start for Big. We have been able to share innovation agendas amongst the biggest players such as Aigua de Barcelona, CaixaBank, Naturgy, and Telefónica. We all have joined forces to identify common challenges, duplications, and overlapping, but also synergies in our innovation agendas. And we have opened the platform to other stakeholders, including international and local startups, to solve together common, very concrete business challenges. I actually don't have information of many similar projects in Europe. And I could keep talking a lot about these fancy projects for hours, but I suggest that we go back to the numbers that show what happened so far at SEAT, and I would like to leave the stage and the microphone to our CFO, Olga Kincha.
Thank you very much, Luca. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to see you here in Martorell. It's a pleasure for me to present you today the annual results of SEAT 2018. I expect that you will afterwards agree that 2018 has been a year to celebrate. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2018, we did it again. 2018 has been another year of records for SEAT. We have improved our main financial performance indicators. Thanks to the effort in renewing and extending our product portfolio, we have reached once again a record year for net sales. The good sales performance has driven our operating result to an all-time record. And also, our profit after tax, before extraordinary effects, is showing the best result ever. In order to realize all these achievements, we had to carry out the highest investments and R&D expenses in our history. Our strategy is working. We are on the right path, and the success of SEAT is not a flash in the pan. I'm sure you will enjoy the presentation, and also you, Dr. Dies, will be excited. Luca has just presented the outstanding sales figure of over 500,000 units. This allowed us to reach an all-time record of rounded 10 billion euro net sales, or more precisely, 9,991,000,000 euro. 9 million are missing. This represents an increase of more than 33% versus 2014. This record has been made possible thanks to the excellent reception of the Arona in the market, as well as the good performance of the rest of our models, especially the Cupra Ateca. And I can tell you, I enjoy every day driving my Cupra Ateca. It's a pleasure, really. It's an amazing car, and you should really drive it and buy one. I can proudly say that SEAT today represents around 1% of the Spanish GDP, making us the #1 contributor in the Spanish automotive sector. And in 2019, you can expect that SEAT will surpass the 10 billion mark without needing to round it up. Ladies and gentlemen, we are really improving our business, not only in absolute terms, but also in income per unit. The quality of the sales average income per vehicle has increased by 1,360 euros per car in the last 5 years to now 14,450 euros per car. This is mainly caused by our strategic decision to move into the more profitable SUV and crossover segments. The launch this year of the new Tarraco will help to maintain this very positive trend. Dear colleagues of the press, I assume many of you have already driven the car, or at least seen the Tarraco adverts in the Barcelona airport. I'm pretty sure that you also agree with me that this is a fantastic SUV. Concerning the role SEAT plays in the Spanish economy more broadly, I would like to highlight some interesting facts. 2 billion euro, or 20% from our revenue, is coming from sales in Spain. Nearly 8 billion, or 80%, are coming from exported cars and parts. 3% of the total Spanish exports are generated by SEAT. With these figures, SEAT is the largest industrial exporter in Spain. Our main market is Germany, with more than 20% of our total net sales and over 114,000 units sold to final customers in 2018. As a German, I can tell you that always when I'm coming home to my country, I find more SEAT on the street, and that makes me really proud. Our second biggest market is Spain, where we sold nearly 108,000 cars. One of our main objectives for the coming years is to bring other markets to the same level as Germany and Spain. Ladies and gentlemen, now I will explain to you the operating profit and profit after tax evolution. But as Christian already said, before that, let me mention the difference between what has been communicated in the group press conference and what I'm presenting here today. As you know, the group presents the operating results according to international financial reporting standards for the brand SEAT, including, for example, subsidiaries in Germany or Portugal. These are the 254 million euros you have seen 2 weeks before in Wolfsburg. I am focusing at the operating result and the profit after tax according to Spanish accounting rules, but only for SEAT SA, without subsidiaries. SEAT reached the best operating result ever. It's the 3rd year in a row with a growing 3-digit operating result. This was possible due to the operating performance driven by our latest launches, with an increase in net sales, and also in the transaction prices. Consequently, cost in supplies and personnel increased, but the impact was lower than the effect of the sales increase. This was possible thanks to our cost efficiency programs. An example is the full cost optimization program, which is part of our strategy, and where we are working very hard to reduce every single cost position. We have to intensify these cost efficiency programs to be fit for the future and be able to tackle the challenges that are in front of us. The other effects shown in the chart refers to the hedging reclassification. Hedging was last year part of the financial result. Due to accounting adaptations, hedging is now part of the operating result. So this is only a systematic change. The performance is 72 million euros better compared to last year, an improvement of 62%. The return on sales is only at 2.2%, or if we take the brand SEAT as reported in the group press conference, it is at 2.5%. But Due to our high capital turnover, the return on investment is at 13.2%. This is already a good indicator and above industry average. Dr. Dies himself announced that the return on investment will become our most important performance indicator in the future, even more important than the return on sales. And here we are quite well prepared. The profit after tax amounts to 294 million euro. The increase in the operating performance remains at 72 million euro, as already explained. Concerning the other effects, in addition to the mentioned hedging reclassification, the financial and tax results were lower than last year. But with 294 million euro, we are also showing a record in the profit after tax before extraordinary effects. It's the best result ever. And this despite the problems we had to overcome due to WLTP. Ladies and gentlemen, this is really my favorite chart. This chart clearly reflects the actual situation of SEAT. After reaching break-even in 2015, this is the third year in a row with a growing three-digit profit after tax. The result for 2018, with a profit after tax of 294 million euro, represents an improvement of 360 million euros compared to 2014. I never believed that in the past. So we are in a good position. But the strength of the company does not mean we can afford to be complacent about the challenges we will face in the coming years. With new models, as well as electrification, digitization, and the development of mobility services. All these challenges must be tackled, and we have to make sure that we remain a winning company. All this success could not have been possible without a big investment effort. 5.7% of our revenue is spent in investments. In addition to this, 656 million euros, or 6.5% of our revenue, have been allocated to R&D activities. This is more than 3% of all R&D expenditures in Spain. In 2018, we spent in total more than 1.2 billion euros for investments and R&D expenses, which is the highest figure ever. Even in 1992, which was the year of the construction of the Martorell factory, the figure was not as high as that. This level of investments in R&D expenses makes us the leading industrial investor in Spain. Here you can see our evolution of total investments in R&D expenses. An indicator that confirms the investments effort is the fact that the average figures of the last 5 years amounts more than 800 million euro. These investments and R&D expenses of over 4 billion euro between 2014 and 2018 have mainly been allocated to the greatest product offensive in the history of SEAT, placing the company into the profitability path. So to summarize, 2018 has been a more than successful year and demonstrates that SEAT is a solid and sustainable company. Our net sales were at a record level of almost 10 billion euro, up by 4.6% compared to last year. We are showing the highest operating result ever with 223 million euros, being positive for the third year in a row and a 93.2% above last year. Our profit after tax is at 294 million euro, also 4.6% higher like net sales, and we have increased our investments and R&D expenses by 27.1% compared to 2017 to be prepared for the future. As I said at the beginning of my presentation, our objective is to maintain the positive trend in the following years. We will develop cost efficiency programs to continue with this positive financial evolution, and at the same time increase investments in R&D expenses to guarantee the future of SEAT. This is the attitude of our company to face the future. But today, we should celebrate the 2018 results. Thank you very much, and now I hand over to Luca again.
Muy bien. So thank you, Olga, for your explanation. I mean, he's very happy today. I can tell you it's not always the case every day. Olga is a little bit like our Gerard Piqué or Beckenbauer. We would have lost a lot of games, matches without him in the last years. So the numbers that he presented show that SEAT is now a company that can look at the future really straight in the eyes. The next 2-3 years will be challenging. The next 10 probably will be fantastic for the whole industry. In the short term, we will probably see an interesting combination of, I would say, growth deceleration in the markets after a long positive cycle. The necessities you have seen to increase development budgets to be ready for the change of paradigm on the technology side, and the possible push in the market to accelerate adoption of eco-friendly technologies to avoid undesired penalties. It will be a hard proving ground for many before a new era of automotive can fully blossom again. And it will require a strong focus on generating margins also in the short term, on increasing productivity, on keeping cost, I would say cost structures very, very lean. But we know how to do this work here at SEAT. We have practiced that for so many years during the long 10 years crisis. And we will make sure that no one in this organization will ever forget that healthy, basic instinct. But in general, we are optimistic that we will be one of the winners of this, let's say, phase and this process of transformation for 3 reasons plus 1. The first one is that we enter this phase in a position of strength as a brand, and especially with the best range of models which we ever had in our history. The second is that unlike other players of similar size, we have the privilege of being part of the biggest automotive company and one of the biggest tech companies in the world. That puts us in another league when it comes to access to the latest technology. We don't have to start from scratch investing, and we have always more than one strategic option to choose from. Just a proof of that is the confirmation I will make today on the product side. 6, I'm talking about 6 pure electric and plug-in hybrid models just until beginning of 2021. We will start 2020 bringing to the market the Mi Electric. This is an enhanced version, electric version of the current Mi, ideal for the city. We see it as an appetizer, a way for us to test and learn about the electric value chain, electric car value chain. And also in 2020, the new generation of the Leon will come to the market in its 5-door version and station wagon. It will come in the market and feature a plug-in hybrid with up to 245 horsepower and below 50 gram CO2. And then, just before end of 2020, it will be the moment of Elborn, based on the most advanced electric and connected platform, volume platform on this planet, the MEB platform of the Volkswagen Group, right in the middle of the European market in terms of size and price. Basically, this is a game changer. In the same time frame, Cupra will be projected into the future with the Cupra Leon and the Cupra Leon station wagon, both with the plug-in hybrid version. At the beginning of 2021, we will close this cycle with the Tarraco plug-in hybrid version and with the Cupra Formentor, the beautiful show car that you saw live today in the reception area. And the good news is that we can announce today that this additional model will be produced here in Martorell for the joy of the SEAT team that consider this car one of the best things we have ever made. Now, the third reason why we are optimistic is because we have now, I think, a clearer role in the VW Group as a youthful and emotional brand. More importantly, we have earned, I think, trust and credibility as a team, thanks to our results, and the best proof of it is what I'm saying is the second announcement of today. SEAT will develop, in collaboration with the Volkswagen brand in Wolfsburg, a new electric vehicle of around 4 meters, based on a platform leveraging the VW Group MEB platform, also here in Martorell. This means that for the first time in our Centro Tecnico, we will be helping developing a platform that may be used by more brands around the globe. It also means a big investment in know-how here in Spain and the possibility to have more, I would say, more than 300 engineers focused on the future. We are working on the idea that rather sooner than later, everybody will be able to drive an electric car for less than 20,000 euros. It looks like a little bit the mission we had many years ago to put everybody on 4 wheels here in Spain, just in a new way and in a new era of the automotive industry. The +1 reason that makes me optimistic is a little thing that can make a big difference, just to quote Winston Churchill. And that little thing is attitude. If I had to answer to the question, what has changed at SEAT with a single word, I would use that one. It's attitude. People are proud, motivated, and most importantly, they think they will be able to make tomorrow a better place than today. And that's, for me, the most important of the results, and thus the title of this annual report that I have here. Now, I'm almost at the end. Let me dedicate 1 minute before the end to make a very short brief in Spanish for the Spanish press. 2018 ha sido el mejor año de la historia de SEAT. Hemos logrado un beneficio después de impuestos de casi 300 millones de euros y los ingresos más altos de nuestra historia, cerca de 10.000 millones de euros. SEAT tiene hoy una gama de vehículos en los segmentos más relevantes y rentables. La ofensiva de SUVs que culminó en 2018 con el nuevo Tarraco ha superado todas las expectativas y 1 de cada 3 SEAT vendidos el año pasado fue un SUV. Por primera vez, SEAT aquí en Martorell desarrollará en colaboración con los compañeros de Volkswagen una nueva plataforma para vehículos eléctricos para todo el grupo. Esta nueva plataforma tiene como objetivo desarrollar vehículos eléctricos asequibles con un precio de entrada por debajo de los 20.000 euros. En este proyecto participarán más de 300 ingenieros altamente calificados. También queremos anunciar que el nuevo Cupra Formentor presentado en Ginebra hace unas semanas se producirá en la fábrica de Martorell y que estamos para lanzar 6 vehículos eléctricos e híbridos enchufables entre el año 2020 y el año 2021. Muchas gracias a todos. Thank you to all of you. And now I would like to leave the stage to the CEO of the Volkswagen Group, Dr. Herbert Diess.
Buenos días a todos. Congratulations to you, Luca, and to the entire SEAT team to the best year ever. 2018 was an exceptional year for SEAT in many ways. The team has closed with a record in terms of sales. Vehicle deliveries grew by 10.5%, making SEAT Europe's fastest growing brand, attracting the youngest customers to our group. Achieving the highest customer satisfaction ahead of Skoda and Volkswagen, and successfully launching the Cupra brand and demonstrating how to conquer car enthusiasts around the world. Step by step, SEAT is becoming a sporty, young, renowned car brand. And SEAT is playing a new role within the group, taking on even more responsibility. And what is also important, you are making profit again. The return on investment was already 13.2%, not far from the group target. So I would like to thank Luca, his management team, and all the employees at SEAT for this outstanding performance. Your passion and drive are the foundation of this success. This year's achievements underline SEAT's potential to make use of growth opportunities and open up new markets around the world. As Luca said, SEAT has ambitious plans. SEAT is working hard to become a globally known auto brand, and it will be the driving force in opening up the North African market for the Volkswagen Group. And SEAT is preparing to enter the Chinese market, the growth motor and future innovative hub for our industry, potentially opening up even more growth opportunities for SEAT and the Volkswagen Group. Ladies and gentlemen, the transformation of our industry and the Volkswagen Group is speeding up and gaining momentum. Our goal is to take up a leading role in this new world as well, striving to provide individual mobility for the years to come for millions of people around the globe. We will make sure that individual mobility becomes safer, connected, and carbon-free. Our group-wide electric offensive is the starting block with the first all-electric vehicles of the new generation going into production now, at Audi, at Porsche, and at the Volkswagen brand. We have already launched the Audi e-tron, and we will soon present the Porsche Taycan, the sportiest electric car by far. A few months later, we will be launching the Volkswagen ID, bringing electromobility into volume. Based on our new all-electric platform, it will be followed by the SEAT Elborn. By 2028, the Volkswagen Group will be launching almost 70 new electric models, including electric vehicles from SEAT, like the Leon PHEV or PHEV, the Cupra Formentor PHEV, and the Mi Electric. We will electrify our portfolio in all segments and raise the electric-powered proportion of our fleet in Europe to at least 40% by 2030. Therefore, we plan to invest to over 30 billion until 2023. There's no alternative to electromobility to bring down emissions and make mobility CO2 free. We will significantly cut CO2 emissions over the coming years to stop global warming. Volkswagen is committed to the Paris Agreement and its targets of keeping global warming below 2 degrees Celsius by 2050. The Paris targets can be achieved through a considerable CO2 reduction across all sectors of industry and society. Today, around 14% of worldwide CO2 emissions stem from the transport sector, including airplanes and ships, as well as passenger cars and trucks. 1% is produced by our group's passenger cars. Around 100 million are in use worldwide. We will reduce this carbon footprint to zero until 2050. Our objective is to make the entire Volkswagen Group CO2 neutral by 2050. This applies not only to our vehicles, but also to our own CO2 footprint. CO2 will therefore become one of the key performance metrics in our vehicle projects and in production and procurement. We are setting ourselves binding interim objectives. In our production system, we aim to cut the global CO2 emissions by half compared to 2010. In our portfolio, SEAT plays a pivotal role in bringing electrification to the small car segment. The small electric platform project that Luca explained is a great step towards an even more affordable electric mobility. SEAT will realize the first electric vehicle that is especially designed for urban journeys, available around 23 for less than 20,000 euros. The total cost of ownership will be lower than that of a comparable combustion engine vehicle due to less maintenance and fuel costs, making it by far the most environmental friendly and economic way to move in urban areas. So we will make electric mobility accessible for a large number of people, making cars for millions of people, not only for millionaires. That has always been part of our DNA. Ladies and gentlemen, the great transformation is underway. We are aligning Volkswagen with e-mobility like no other company in our industry. To a large extent, that is already reflected in our planning. Thanks to our vehicles, we have an excellent opportunity to gain a clear lead over our competitors within the next years. With regard to the second great transformation, connectivity and autonomous driving, we are tackling the change with an even more challenging plan. We are starting to evolve from a pure automaker into a software-driven enterprise. Software will play a vital role in cars of the future. It will account for 90% of the innovations in the industry. This fundamental change represents a dramatic realignment and calls for entirely new skills. We just started the next significant change program to become a more software-oriented car firm. And we are rapidly scaling up our software resources and capabilities, partnering with big software groups and ramping up our own resources. Also in this area, SEAT is an important part of our group. For instance, the SEAT Metropolis Lab here in Barcelona with software engineers already working. A few words in Spanish to summarize my speech. La industria de automoción se enfrenta a una transformación inminente. El grupo Volkswagen va tomando liderazgo en esta nueva etapa. Volkswagen invertirá más de 30.000 millones de euros para el vehículo eléctrico hasta el año 2023. SEAT es un pilar fundamental para el futuro del grupo Volkswagen. Hoy, SEAT es un actor relevante dentro del grupo con un equipo, una plantilla capaz y motivada. La plataforma para vehículos pequeños que SEAT está desarrollando es una tarea muy importante dentro del grupo. Nos permitirá entrar en el segmento de coches eléctricos diseñado especialmente para trayectos urbanos y con un precio inferior a 20.000 euros. Una tarea difícil, pero tengo plena confianza que el equipo SEAT lo va a lograr. Ladies and gentlemen, we are preparing for the electric and digital era by developing the right offer for a cleaner, safer, and more comfortable mobility. The team of SEAT is in good shape and highly motivated to contribute even more to Volkswagen Group and to its mission. In this regard, SEAT is a crucial building block for a good future of our firm. Thank you very much.
So, thank you, Dr. Dietz. So, as I mentioned earlier, Dr. Dietz is going to join us for the Q&A round, so we need to make space. So some of us are going to switch from seats. So I come back in 1 minute. Good. So while we are changing names, water, I'm going to remind you the dynamics of the Q&A. So if you want to ask a question, please raise your hand, 2-3 seconds, and make sure that the closest staff member registers you into the system. So the staff members, please could you raise your hand to make sure that you are spotted by, okay. Then, so I will call your name according to the request order, and I will give you the speaking term. The staff member will give you the microphone in order that you can ask your question. So that's pretty simple. In fact, you can ask your question in any of the 5 languages available for the translation. So in the meanwhile, we are prepared. That's perfect. So I'm starting. We have a question here on the left from Camilo Acor de Dinero from Portugal. So.
Thank you, Christian. Luca, the first question is for you. Aren't you afraid that this deceleration in the European economy and also world economy will affect the task of SEAT regarding the future in terms of sales, profitability? And second one is, how do you convince Mr. Diss on your right side to give you all these new responsibilities? You know, strategy for micromobility, now the electric platform. What's your secret? And last question to you. We've been coming here over and over, and you keep on delivering. It's impressive. Total Überraschung, as they say in Germany. So I'm going to ask you the same as I asked last year. Will we see you here, Luca de Meo, next year? Because Dr. Diss needs help with the other brands in the group. Thank you very much.
Well, 2 out of 3 questions I can't answer, no? But the story of the deceleration, of course, I mean, we should have expected that, you know, after 6-7 years of positive cycle, there is a moment where the things turn. So we see that in some markets. We see some markets, including our domestic market, Spain, going down a little bit compared to last year. But we also see SEAT, you know, still growing double-digit, and that's what I said before. I think we enter in a position of strength. It will be harder and harder, I would say. But the basic economics fundamental are good. There are some perturbation regarding, you know, consumer confidence, some things that are happening around the world about debates about things that we cannot influence as a small brand producing and designing cars. So I think we are used to uncertainty in this company, and I think we are confident we will show 2019 again as a positive year. That's at least that's our target as a team. We don't want to even imagine the idea of going back, right? So we fight for it as we have always done. The question on the project, I mean, I'd rather leave it to Mr. Dies, why we got some responsibility, because he has to give me that. I only try to do my job, which is to make sure that this company leverages all its potential, yeah, and contributes to the whole equation in the Volkswagen Group. Maybe it was not the case some years ago, but now we have clearly, yeah, the intention to add value to, you know, to the family, and hopefully we are able also to deliver, because some of the things are pretty challenging, I would say. The third one I can't answer.
Probably a few comments to that. We reorganized the group a year ago or so, and we found that too much decisions were made centrally in Wolfsburg, and also that we didn't use the full capacity of our subsidiaries. And so we have been exploring over the past months what can we delegate, what probably SEAT, Skoda, the other brands can do. And for instance, Skoda, the other, let's say, I would say sister of SEAT in Eastern Europe, they are assuming now responsibilities for India, for the Russian market, also for further developing one of the other platforms. And we have been experiencing that also the SEAT team can do more. No? I think there's an advantage of the environment here in Barcelona, where we have really access to good software, technologies and skill. It's a very attractive area to work. We have really a trained and also very much intertwined and connected engineering team, which works well together with our headquarters in Wolfsburg. So SEAT today probably would not be able to develop a platform for the world or for the group, but with, let's say, in a kind of collaboration between Wolfsburg and SEAT, it's probably more efficient to do that than do it only in Wolfsburg alone. It's also cost efficient to do it here. And SEAT is demonstrating, and as you gain confidence with SEAT, we have been gaining confidence with SEAT. Regarding Luca, I think that's a very good mixture for SEAT because, you know, SEAT has a way to go to become more of a brand, of an aspirational brand, of a worldwide brand. And I think Luca brings a lot of skills and experience in this area of branding, developing a brand. I have to say that the foundation for this success also were laid before Luca was in the team. So I think the team has big merit of let's say, making that transition possible. A lot of the product lineup has been decided 4 or 5 years ago, and it's now to harvest the fruits. But I think SEAT is really now doing a great job making the best use of Volkswagen technology, the big economies of scale, which we can deliver, which we support, and combining it with, let's say, a good story for a brand, enhancing brand value, which is also Cupra, I think, is a very positive example. And I was skeptical at the beginning, I have to say. I was not sure whether it would work, but it's working. It's really working exceptionally. And also Wayne, I think, is doing an exceptional job in establishing that new brand. So we have a good team, we have the right ingredients, I think we have the right balance between marketing and technology, and that is why we believe in the future success of SEAT and its contribution to the group.
Good, thank you. The second question is from Sean Goddard from Time Magazine.
Good morning, Luca. Hi, Dr. Dies. Thank you for an impressive presentation. I'd like to ask you, Luca, a bit more about the future. You've obviously just elaborated on the new role of SEAT in the group. How do you see that evolving? And how do you see this new attitude that SEAT has, a new mindset, helping the Volkswagen Group as a whole achieve their vision of individual mobility?
Well, it's a big, large one. I can elaborate, but I'm going to try to be short. There is a clear evidence, no? And the evidence is that SEAT is actually attracting the youngest, let's say, customer target in the group, okay? And we have conquest rates of above 70%. That means 7 out of 10 of our new customers come outside of the group. So it's very natural for us to conclude that our role could be the ones that bring young people into the Volkswagen Group family, and then they may be one day they will buy an Audi, if they are very lucky in life, a Porsche, etc., etc. And our role is this one, right? And when you try to focus on that target, which is obviously challenging for a number of reasons, you need to be, let's say, good at things that this population is expecting for you, okay? You need to give them connectivity, you need to give them services that are accessible, etc., etc. But I always say to the team, if we listen to these people, to our customer, then we will probably know things where the market will go 10 years in advance, okay? And that's why we decided to engage, not in big style, because we don't have all the resources to do it like a big brand would do it, on things where we try to be, like you say in Spanish, puntero, where you try to be on the edge of the thing. The connectivity story is one part. I welcome the fact that the group gave us, let's say, the responsibility of finding ideas on how to solve the issues and the opportunities of micromobility, because we are in Barcelona, we are immersed into a metropolitan environment with all the challenges. Maybe sometimes we have ideas that are not good, sometimes are good, but we will come with solutions for the group and for all the brands. I think it's also a new spirit in the group that everybody, each one is taking a part of the work, but we do it with the spirit of, let's say, of helping all the others. I think it creates a different dynamic within the organization. The example of Algeria is a good one. We started there, and now everybody is taking benefit of that. We coordinate the thing, but we are aligned with other colleagues, and we will develop that country, for example. I mean, that's, yeah, I mean, I could speak 2 hours on the thing, but I think that's the essence of the story.
Good. Thank you, Luca. Next question is for John McIlroy from Auto Express. John.
Hi there. I've got 3 questions. Actually, the first 2 are probably for Dr. Dees and Mr. De Meo. It's interesting that you're going to develop the MEB entry family for the group. Does that also mean that Martorell will be the designated factory to produce those lower cost electric vehicles? Because at the Volkswagen Group conference, it was suggested that Gwassini in Czechia would be a production site for MEB entry. And also, do you know already if the MEB entry models will be standalone EVs like the ID and the L-Born? Or to get the cost down to 20,000 euros, do you have to look at sharing more components or even body styles with the likes of the Polo and the Ibiza? And finally, my third question is probably for Wayne. We haven't seen any mention yet about a Cupra, a pure electric Cupra on an MEB platform. Is that even being discussed yet?
I start? Yeah, small MEB entry family, introducing electric vehicles to the world is a challenge because battery cost is high, and for the foreseeable futures, electric cars with the, let's say, comparable performance and range will be more expensive to produce than conventional cars. That means, and I think we are right on the way to introduce top-down, so we start with the e-tron, we start with Taycan next, where it seems to be relatively easy. We have good uptake, customers are really asking for the cars, enjoying the electric cars, but we're talking about cars 80,000, 90,000, coming down probably 70,000, 60,000. So the next big challenge will be volume, average, and our, let's say, for the group, our biggest segment is A segment, Golf size of cars, SEAT Leon size of cars, which we come with the next generation, with the first generation of MEB. And we think with a global footprint, sharing platforms in China, Europe and the United States, we have a chance to get those vehicles down to below 30,000 euros with, I would say, quite impressive customer features. And we are quite confident that we can be competitive against, let's say, conventional cars with combustion engines. And we offer something which is probably for the customer for the same price and even better option for many of our customers. Enough range, fast charging capabilities, very roomy, spacey cabin, attractive designs, and I think you can really touch and feel it on the L-Born, and I think you should have a car somewhere around to look at it. So this will be, I think, a very convincing offer for many customers around the world, and starting at the price will start around 30,000 units. So, but we have to get into a world where we will sell 40% electric cars by 2030. So it's not just enough to look at the premium segment and mid-sized cars. So we have to get to the smaller cars, even more so because it just makes sense. Now the electric cars with the smaller batteries for urban use, they are much more economically or let's say environmentally friendly than the big cars because they have smaller batteries. No? And the battery still brings a burden of about 4, 5, 6 tons of CO2 to the car. So smaller cars, smaller batteries, lower speeds, shorter driving distances are the right way to go forward. And if we want to get into the volume segment, we need those cars. But to get those cars into profitability is a huge challenge. It's a huge challenge because the battery cost remains high. So we have to really rethink the platform, which is mainly dedicated now to the A segment, volume segment, MEB. Make, let's say, a second loop of experience. We are looking for different chemistry for the batteries, for lower range batteries. We are absolutely looking for a dedicated platform because the advantages of the electric vehicle you only can harvest if you really start with a white sheet of paper. So that's the same thing what we're doing. But we're using economies of scale with MEB when it comes to certain components for sure. And we make the same approach again like we did in MEB. The biggest volume and then the launch volumes will be in China, where we will grow very fast with our electric cars. And we will have the same approach with the MEB entry platform, which is starting in China, or at the same time in China and Europe, scaling up using new next generation of chemistry in the batteries, and that is where we think, we can achieve an offering around 20 or below 20,000 euro. I think SEAT is, with the right support from Wolfsburg, SEAT can do the job. They have experience in developing cars. They're doing emotional designs. We will have a mixed team. And SEAT at the same time has to establish itself in China, where we already have a car running in this segment or this size. It's not branded SEAT, but it's a first approach. And I heard that just a few days ago, the team here released the cars for sale in our Chinese joint venture. And we will develop this platform also to be suitable in China and then in Europe and probably other parts of the world. Manufacturing in Europe is not yet decided. It's in our manufacturing strategy, we try to bundle volumes because what doesn't make sense is make an electric car in every other plant because then you don't get the economies of scale. The assembly and the production of an electric car is quite different. As it is a new platform, you have a different set of suppliers, entirely different. So if you would bring one electric car here or to another place, it wouldn't make sense because it just adds complexity and you don't get the economies of scale. For instance, in our first electric car plant in Germany, in Zwickau, we are producing 6 different cars, all same platform for even as well for SEAT, because it just makes sense to bundle those volumes. The decisions to be made in that area is probably we still have a year to go or so, and then we will decide where to produce those vehicles. It will be several brands, probably not all brands of the group, I would say, several brands and for sure several body styles as we did it with MEB. So, long answer, sorry.
Then I will leave it to Wayne for the Cupra thing.
Okay, yeah, so we would be very excited about an electric Cupra series car, so we're discussing that. But we already do today have a fully electric Cupra, and it's our racing car. So the ETCR will be racing very soon, already exists. The second one obviously will be the plug-in hybrid. Formentor, which is important. And I think electrification also for Cupra in the future will be important. So we're looking at, and there's some excellent examples in the group that electric cars can be fun and fast as well when you see the Porsche Taycan. So yeah, we're discussing it, but we can't confirm yet.
I might add to that, the PHEVs will be really stunning performance cars. I think so it suits well to Cupra. And also they will, as the range is getting much bigger, much enhanced. So we're talking now about with the new Passat being launched now with 70 kilometers range already for the PHEVs. Those cars make a lot of sense because you can drive fully electric in the city and then, let's say, really having a performance car for the longer distance traveling. That makes a lot of sense, not only for the transition phase, but also on the, let's say, higher end of the segment where you can have, where you can afford to have basically 2 drivetrains in a car. And I think Cupra would make exceptionally sense.
Good, thank you. The next question is from Ignacio Anasagasti de la Tribuna de Automoción.
Hola, buenos días. Quería hacer tres preguntas. La primera sería, ¿qué papel va a jugar la fábrica del Prat de Llobregat de componentes en la estrategia de electrificación del grupo? Si tiene asignación de alguna carga de trabajo, debido a que tiene el último proyecto es la MQ281. Quería saber si ya tenéis un poco el panorama claro qué actividad va a desarrollar este centro. La segunda pregunta sería en relación a la asignación del CUP. Supongo que no solo se fabricará el Cupra Formentor, sino también el SEAT Formentor por el tema que dice el presidente de Economías de Escala. Quería saber qué potencial de fabricación tiene este modelo y a partir de cuándo se fabricará. Y la última pregunta tiene que ver con los planes del grupo en cuanto a intensificar la optimización de costes. El grupo Volkswagen, especialmente la marca Volkswagen, comunicó que hasta 2023 iba a ajustar la plantilla entre 5.000 y 7.000 efectivos de manera no traumática, con salidas de personal que se va a jubilar. Quería saber, en el caso de SEAT, teniendo en cuenta las ingentes inversiones que se van a cometer en los próximos años, ¿qué impacto va a tener esta optimización de costes? Si hay previsto una reducción de plantilla y, como en el caso de Volkswagen, a través de jubilaciones o otros procesos. Gracias.
Okay, I will answer in English. So regarding the Fábrica de Componentes de El Prat, we also have to put the things in the context. Last year, or 2 years ago, we made a decision of bringing the MQ281, and this was the first decision after something like 20 years. And by doing that, we ensured that the production of this plant will be stable beyond 2026, 2027. So I think we are pretty confident that this, let's say, operation, which is actually working pretty well and you know, is bringing a big contribution to the SEAT success, will be stable. Okay, and there is no major issue. Of course, let's say, components plant will also long-term be impacted on if there is a total change of technology. And this is a discussion that we will have to make with the group, with the components also area of the group, because they are also restructuring and redefining the strategy. But I wouldn't put a lot of urgency on this topic, because a couple of years ago I think we made the right strategic choice, and we got another project here, which was long time didn't happen. Then you asked the question for the, let's say, the management of in terms of resources, what will happen. I think we have been pretty stable, and in Martorell we have actually hired people in the last 3 years. I think all in all we hired 1,500 people. But I can tell you, every time we had to make this kind of decision with all of my colleagues, we were pretty aware of the risk that one day, if we don't have enough work, we would have run into the risk of having to cut, let's say, numbers. So I can tell you that tells you that we are pretty convinced that we will be able to maintain the let's say, the workforce's number stable. Yeah. And we are working also with the trade unions. Every decision that we make it step by step without making some, let's say, jump into the future and taking risks. I think that the big challenge for us, and this is what we are also discussing with our, let's say, trade unions partners, is the transformation that one day might happen into the plan in terms of competence. So I think that the discussion that we'll have, for example, regarding the next convenio colectivo that we'll discuss in a couple of, starting next year, will focus on two things. One is increase productivity, because I think that the Spanish plants, they need to regain, you know, a stronger relative position in terms of productivity, okay? And the second thing will be requalification of people. So I think it's very important, if we take the problem on time and we are able to transform some of the people, we will be prepared for any, let's say, future scenario. And that's what we want to do together with the plant. And this is exactly a discussion probably next week I will have with Matias Carnero and Rafa Guerrero on how strategically we engage in the next 10 years and how we protect the jobs of our people, because this is for us, one of the most important things.
Good. Thank you. Next question is for Tony Fuentes, Coche Global.
Hola, buenos días. Aquí.
Hola, Tony.
Tenía tres preguntas también muy concretas. Una es, me parece que no lo han dicho, pero si es así, pido disculpas, el importe del bonus para los trabajadores, ¿qué supone en cantidad total ese aumento? Luego, no han hablado de Latinoamérica, de los planes de la compañía de crecer en Latinoamérica con una base de producción en México. Entiendo que ese proyecto sigue vivo, pero quería preguntar cómo está, porque es otro foco importante de crecimiento para la compañía, entiendo, ¿no? Y luego una pregunta final, que es más una curiosidad para el señor Dis. ¿Cómo ha reaccionado el resto de marcas a su presencia hoy aquí en Martorell? Y si es posible que igual se sientan un poco celosas por su presencia aquí. Gracias.
¿Quieres empezar con esto?
Bueno.
Empieza con... No, bueno, okay, so, Tony, the two, let's say two things. Very concretely, the bonus this year for the worker will be starting from 1,068 euros. Last year was something like 740, if I remember correctly. And so it represents a 49% increase on last year value. Okay, so I think it's, I remember when we were discussing a few years ago about profit sharing. You know, I think part of the plant, not Matthias especially, he was believing on the fact that we could get into this direction. He was right, and because then the company was able to get into profit. So I think it's a very good sign for everybody that we are able 3 years in a row to pay a bonus, and it's increasing every year. Regarding the South American thing, I mentioned the story. I mean, to be very, very concrete and not, you know, talking about science fiction scenarios, etc., etc. First of all, we have a, let's say, we have a lot on of meat on the grill. Okay, we have China, which is a very challenging and relevant, let's say, project that needs to work for the group. We are engaged in North Africa. Let's say, the start was very good, but we need to get to the next level potentially. And then South America comes as, I would say, as a third priority. Is this also true that we are not sleeping? In Mexico, SEAT is working very, very well. And now in the first couple of months of the year, I think when we're again growing another 9%, Cupra is working tremendously well in that market. So we are positioned very well, as Mr. D says, above Volkswagen, for young people, very modern and fresh and cool brand. So they're doing their job. We have signed a contract with Porsche Holding, which is basically our distribution retail branch in the group. Is a retail branch brand, I would say. And so we are entering Chile and Colombia, and the first signals that I get from the market are pretty positive. But, you know, let's do the things step by step, and let's let's be aware that we have a huge amount of work, let's say, before we get into South America. Yeah, already secured, I would say like this. The last thing was on the press conference. If the other were jealous, I don't know. Maybe.
You're absolutely right. It's unusual for me to be here. And when I first, when we had the last supervisory board meeting, or the
Consejo de Administración.
Consejo de Administración, I said I wanted to come here. And my communication people said, you can't because it's not...
We actually invited you first, and you said...
Yeah. But I said, you know, if there's, it was such a great achievement, no, and such, I think also so important for SEAT. This is probably a change of direction, no, to become a real prosperous car brand, and I think the team did an excellent job. That I just wanted to be here and congratulate to the team. And actually, you also enjoy if you have a positive story to communicate and talk about the future and not only about the past. So I'm really enjoying to be here. You know, it's last year was a tough year for the group. Many operations did not achieve their targets and did not perform better than 2017. SEAT did, yeah, and so that's why I'm here, basically.
Good. Thank you. The next question is from Ian Mount from the Financial Times.
Hello. I have two questions for Dr. Udis. The first of which has to do with, again, with your presence here. As I understand it, you haven't gone to the other brands this year, and underlining the positive results of SEAT. I'm curious what this means for its place in the organization. In the past, in the more difficult times, there are questions about if the brand can be sold off, things like that. Has it become indispensable? Or if it could be, under what situations could it be sold? And the second question, slightly more difficult, has to do with the recent controversy about the use of your comment on EBIT and the seeming relation of it to the slogan from Auschwitz. I'm curious if you could characterize your conversations with shareholders and board members after that, and whether there were any calls for any sort of disciplinary action or anything up to including leaving the position. Thank you.
I think that's not the case. I apologized for what I said. I think it was really a very unlucky event and the wrong choice of words and environment. Also, you might have read in the press and from people which were present that it was totally taken out of context. And the case I wanted to make, I think I would have explained it another way. I think we are, from the communication side, we are through that. I apologized. I have to say that I dedicate quite a lot of time to our history. Now, I just, last year, I was spending time at Auschwitz. We have, and we have a very conflictive history, very conflictive past, which we have to be always aware of. And we are conserving it, and I think we're doing a lot. We have been visiting Auschwitz. We have a team of apprentices basically continuously working there. I visited them. We have very good relations with many Jewish or Israeli organizations. We have good business relations in Israel. So we dedicated a lot of time also in working on our past and making sure that we don't forget and we are aware of that, where we're coming from. So sorry again here, that was, I think it was taken totally out of context, but I apologize for it. So I think we should be over it by now or soon. The other question was, is SEAT indispensable already? So shouldn't we? I think a sale of SEAT was never really on the table, because it's so intertwined with the group technologically. So it just wouldn't also, as a single asset, it wouldn't make a lot of sense. It's very much intertwined, and it makes sense within the group because they attract a different customer to the basically same set of technologies, to the economies of scale. They can play a role. I think there's still a lot of potential for SEAT because still it's very much a regional brand. The biggest challenge for sure is China to come. And Latin America would be a natural as well, but still in Europe there are plenty of growth potentials, and where we still have a not significant market share for a volume brand. So I think SEAT makes a lot of sense to keep SEAT in the group, more sense than to, let's say, split it off.
Good, thank you. The next question is for Motori Online, Lorenzo Virgilio.
Hello, thank you. I'd like to ask something about the electric cars, and both from the point of view of the SEAT brand and of the whole group Volkswagen. There are a couple of topics that are very important for the diffusion of the electric cars, that are the availability of a charging station in all Europe and especially in around the countries, not just in the big cities, and the recycling of batteries. You are moving in some way, working with the institution, with the European Union, to improve the situation that obviously can lead also to major sales for you. Thank you very much.
Yes, we are investing in we are running a consortium which dedicates or bundles the efforts of some of our competitors and ourselves, and we are establishing a fast charging network around Europe with a distance between the charging stations of 120 kilometers covering whole Europe, and we are well on the way. We'll finish it early 2020. So early 2020, when the big volume of electric cars will come, we will be ready. It will be fast charging up to 350 kilowatts, 400 volt, 800 volts. So it will cover also our top of the line Porsche models and Audi models, but also the volume models. So we think that by 2020, we will not have a perfect environment, and until then we also will sell wall boxes. We will have very, I think, attractive offers for our customers, a full package of car plus wall box plus installation of wall box, a contract for the energy. We will sell green energy directly to the customer. We will have then an established Europe-wide fast charging network, and it will take you now on an 800 volt charging. Obviously, more sophisticated cars, it will take you 5 minutes to charge, or 7 minutes to charge 100 kilometers. No, which is really becoming fast. On the more main market segments, 400 volts, it will take you probably 15 minutes to charge 100 kilometers, yeah, or 20 to really fill up 70% of the battery. So the environment won't be perfect, but we don't expect everybody to change from the conventional car into electric car. And for many of the customers, by 2020, they will find a very attractive offering, very attractive car, a ride package. Probably the customer still driving several hundred kilometers every day, 20, 30,000 per year, traveling long distances. I wouldn't recommend still an electric car, but for many customers, the electric car will be the right choice to take.
Maybe I use the opportunity.
Recycling was.
Recycling.
The other point was recycling. Batteries are a concern because we need the raw materials. We need to really ramp up production capacity in the next years. We are working on that, investing ourselves and suppliers. We're building up competencies on the batteries. But already today we know that we won't have to, let's say, throw away batteries after usage. Already today we know that after the car life, after 1,000 cycles or 800 to 1,000 cycles, the battery still works 80% or even better and can have a second life in stationary equipment for, let's say, buffering the energy you receive from solar collectors or from wind. There's a huge demand on that, so you would add another, after the first 7 years, you would, or 7 or 10 years, you would add another 10 years life period of time. And already today we know that still after this second life, the battery still is the most valuable component of the car because of the raw materials in the batteries. They will still have a value of about 1,000 euros or even more. So, and then we can reuse all the raw materials, but 90% of the raw materials can be reused. And we think that it will be basically a closed cycle of raw materials, and that we, after having converted the industry into electric, you won't need too many more raw materials in the, let's say, after a 15 or 20 or 30 years period of time, and running the raw materials in full recycling. We are dedicating resources there internally, currently more in developing and scientific, because until we start to refurbish the first batteries, there are still many years to go. Yeah.
Maybe I take the opportunity of your question to just send a message more related to the situation in Spain or for SEAT. I think we are, you see a lot of announcements of let's say, infrastructure operators that are announcing construction of, I don't know, 4 to 5, 2,000, 6,000 charging points. The reality is that we are a little bit in a chicken and egg situation where, the infrastructure, let's say, leaders are waiting for us to prove that electric cars works. And we are saying if we don't have infrastructure, we cannot actually sell enough cars, okay? So we can do part of the story as an OEM. We can offer good wall box solution. We can engage as we do with Ionity on let's say, highways and supercharging thing, but we will not be able, as a manufacturer, to actually cover the thing. So it's someone else's kind of responsibility and core business. But the message I want to send is what Herbert said about the mix of electric cars that we would need to do to hit the target, then you really get into volume. So I just want to use the opportunity to motivate the infrastructure, let's say, responsible to get into this business, because there will be a market for that, because we will sell cars that will be charged, yeah? And so that we avoid any doubts of commitment of some of the big manufacturers on this thing. It will happen like this, right? And we are working obviously with some of the, because this is a typical example of an of a challenge that cuts horizontally industry. You need to work with the energy industry to find out a solution for that. That's what we're doing. But the market will be there, especially if the infrastructure will be, in their place. Yeah. And the starting point of Spain is not very high. That means, in the case of electric charging infrastructure, we are not, in the situation of country in the north of Europe, so we need to speed up. We are very good in logistics, we're very good in telecommunication infrastructure, but this one is not yet where it should be. Yeah.
Good, thank you. So we have had a lot of double and triple questions, so we have time for one, maximum 2 questions. I'm sorry, we won't be capable to take all the questions. The next one is from Dolores Alvarez, de La Vanguardia.
Sí, hola. Yo quería hacer una pregunta referente a la fábrica de Martorell, que creo que está trabajando por encima del 90% de su capacidad. Pero querría saber qué previsión tiene para este año y cómo valora el comportamiento menos positivo de lo que se esperaba con el A1.
Oh, okay. This one I'm gonna answer if I may. I think it's very difficult to do forecast. Let's say of course we have an internal forecast that says that the situation will be good also this year. Okay. I don't want to declare any precise number because there are some uncertainty along the way. One of the things that we will probably have to go through again is the whole story of WLTP. it will probably be less, let's say, impactful than it has been on the first wave, because for some of the, let's say, for some of the engines, it's more administrative work than the real development work. But then also, of course, we are looking, you know, let's say also the availability of engine, because one of the things that is obviously happening is a change in the mix between gasoline and diesel. So we need to let's say think about. I remember when a couple of years ago we were doing production planning meetings every 2 months to stabilize the thing and not to create a lot. But right now we do it, I don't know, once a month minimum, or twice a month, just because we need to follow the let's say the change in supply of the engine. But I am convinced that we will make it again. I mean, Mr. D said that at the beginning. I think the WLTP thing for us was mastered pretty well. It had impact more on other brands than on us, but it's also because of the hard work of our people, even in the plant, the flexibility that the trade unions had. So it was a very good teamwork, and we limited damages basically. And we are still here talking about the highest number of sales at SEAT. So something good also in this respect we should have probably done. The A1, I think it's a fantastic car. It's a fantastic car. It's probably one of the best cars in that segment. I think we are, let's say, we are just at the beginning. So to put a cross on a car like this, that would be absolutely a shame. And I think that this car will have its success. They have had at the beginning a very restricted, let's say, engine offer. So now they will deploy all the range, and I'm sure that my colleagues at Audi, they will make it, as they normally do with a lot of cars, a great success, because it deserves it.
Good. Thank you, Luca. Next question is for Olga Rodríguez, del Español.
Hola, buenos días. Hemos visto la importancia que tiene el mercado exterior para SEAT. Se ha comentado un escenario de desaceleración económica. A mí me gustaría preguntar más concretamente cómo puede afectar el Brexit o ciertas políticas arancelarias a la actividad de SEAT. Gracias.
Ok, ¿quieres contestar tú o Will? Porque, bueno, es tu...
Era mi país.
Era tu país.
Sí. Up till now, I mean, we're lucky at SEAT that we've seen no impact on our sales. We had a great year last year, double-digit growth. We got off to a good start this year as well. It's very difficult to say at the moment until we know exactly what decision they take. Then we will see. But we, within the group and with the other brands, for the different scenarios that exist, we have different plans. Obviously, we would prefer stability and more clarity. That's a much better situation for the market.
But so far, so good in UK.
But so far, so good this year. Yeah.
Yes, good. Next question is from Herbert Spitz, Neue Deutsche Zeitung, der Schweiz.
Yes, good morning. Question to Luca De Meo, and also I'd like the opinion of Dr. Abadis. We've talked about electrification. Now, even if you reach all your goals, there will still be a majority of cars with conventional combustion engines. So, a few months ago, you informed us that SEAT will take the lead in CNG development, and now you've taken the lead in a number of other things. Have you now been taken away the CNG lead, and what are your plans now for CNG, and what is the relevance after the whole electrification push?
Okay, I will answer to this one. No, we didn't give up on the thing. We've probably been less, let's say, loud on that in the communication. But in fact, we have recently got the approval for an investment to create a development competence center for the CNG, that in the new spirit of the group will serve all the other brands. So we will take, let's say, responsibility in the team of Axel of developing application 4 engines that will then go in the cars of the group. I think it's an interesting, let's say, alternative, especially in some markets where you have, let's say, infrastructure. We believe will be part of the landscape, but our push and our, let's say, kind of, let's say, really drive for the electrification is just because even a CNG car will always be, I don't know, 85 grams, and we need zero emission cars to hit the target. So I think you need to have to put that in the order of priorities. We think that in some models let's say in some countries where the thing could start, maybe we are able to have a double-digit mix on the thing, but maybe you can have 10%. We have cases in Italy where we sell 30–35% of Leon in CNG because that kind of technology is pretty much accepted in the market. And on other places like Spain, where we are together with the energy industry trying to build infrastructure, and those infrastructure will not only be beneficial for SEAT but also for Volkswagen or Skoda or even the let's say commercial vehicle or even the truck business. So it will be part of the thing, but and we are in, and we just approved an investment, and we will create that kind of competence for the group here that will serve all the other brands.
May I add that we are by far market leader in Europe. We have 25 cars, we have several platforms. We also, the next generation of platforms, we qualify for CNG. And I would say that we still will remain market leader.
Absolutely.
Good, so I'm afraid it was the last question and the last answers. So thanks to all for attending this press conference. There's some food outside, of course, Spanish food outside, so please enjoy it. Thank you for coming, and we hope to see you again soon. Thank you.